हमारे बाल के बच्चों के लिए, यूथ लीडर के लिए तालियां, जोरदार तालियां बजनी चाहिए। हमारे जो रिकॉर्डिंग वाले लोग हैं, हमारे जो मुख्य अतिथि हैं, उनके लिए हैंडसेट प्रोवाइड करें मंच के लिए। और जो हमारे इंपॉर्टेंट गेस्ट हैं, सब लोग अपना अपना स्थान ले लें। विदिन 5 मिनट प्रोग्राम इज स्टार्ट।
अभी हट जाएगा, हट जाएगा। हाँ जी, हाँ। अरे बाबा,
बिकने को तैयार नहीं हम, रुकने को तैयार नहीं हम, रुकने को तैयार नहीं हम, रुकने को तैयार नहीं हम, निकल पड़े हैं। रुकने को तैयार नहीं हम, निकल पड़े हैं। सांसों में तूफान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं। सांसों में तूफान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं। हिंदुस्तान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं। निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े हैं। हम निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े हैं। हम निकल पड़े। बना के हमसे खेले थे वो तो जानवरों से कम कीमत पर बेच रहे थे वो तो मोम की गुड़िया बना के हमसे खेल रहे थे वो तो जानवरों से कम कीमत पर बेच रहे थे वो तो अब तुम हमको छू न सकोगे, खोटी नजरों वालों सुन लो। आपका दरिया बनकर अब हम निकल पड़े हैं। आपका दरिया बनकर अब हम निकल पड़े हैं। निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े हम निकल पड़े। निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े हम निकल पड़े। प्यारे बहने प्यारी साथ में आओ हाथ मिलाओ कदम बढ़ाओ साथ मिलाओ हाथ मिलाओ कदम बढ़ाओ गाँव गली और चौराहों से निकल पड़े हैं मंदिर मस्जिद गुरुद्वारों से निकल पड़े हैं हिंदुस्तान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं हिंदुस्तान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं निकल पड़े निकल पड़े निकल पड़े हैं हम निकल पड़े निकल पड़े निकल पड़े निकल पड़े हैं हम निकल पड़े one more okay बिकने को तैयार नहीं हम हो हेलो हेलो खुश से गाएंगे 1 मिनट में गाते चलो हाँ चलो बिकने को तैयार नहीं लुटने को तैयार नहीं चुगने को तैयार नहीं हो बिकने को तैयार नहीं हम 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 निकल पड़े हैं बिकने को तैयार नहीं हम निकल पड़े हैं आवाज नहीं आ रही है
सारे बच्चे गाओ सब लड़के सब बच्चे गाएंगे
सांसों में तूफान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं सांसों में तूफान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं हिंदुस्तान लिए हम निकल पड़े हैं निकल पड़े हैं निकल पड़े हैं निकल पड़े हैं हम निकल पड़े निकल पड़े निकल पड़े निकल पड़े हम निकल पड़े
ये आवाज दुनिया के हर कोने तक पहुंचनी चाहिए
दुनिया बना के हमसे खेलने देते वो तो जानवरों के जंगी मंच पर बेच रहे वो तो करता उनकी दुनिया बना के हमसे खेलने देते वो तो करता जानवरों से जंगी मंच पर बेच रहे थे वो तो करता अब तुम हमको छोड़ोगे खोटी नजरों
दिल में हिंदुस्तान लिए हम निकल पड़े, है ना? What an amazing start to the second day of this historic first ever Youth Summit on Human Fraternity and Compassion. A big round of applause to all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and my dear brothers and sisters, we are sure that the divine chance and the spark of compassion, where we collectively celebrated human fraternity in the morning, have energized you all for the stimulating sessions ahead. Today, we begin our first plenary session titled Women, Pillars of Human Fraternity and Compassion. This session features remarkable women who serve as the very pillars upon which the edifice of our shared humanity rests. And their stories and actions inspire us all to strive for a more compassionate and united world. I would now like to invite our distinguished guests on stage. First, I would request Dr. F.C. Campbell-Barr, the former Vice President of the Republic of Costa Rica and member of the Permanent Forum on Afro-Descendants of the United Nations, on stage, please. A big round of applause. I would now like to call upon Ms. Nala Al-Saidi, the first ever female advisor to His Eminence, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. Our next guest on stage is someone who's not only an internet sensation, but also a youth climate champion with UNDP India. She is none other than Prajakta Kohli, who's also a part of the Daytime Emmy Award-winning YouTube Originals documentary series along with Michelle Obama.
I would now request the Managing Trustee of Satyarthi Movement for Global Compassion, Ms. Asmita Satyarthi, to kindly come up on stage. Next, I would request Ms. Anjali Kochar, Executive Director of the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation in the US, to come up on stage to take you through with the proceedings further.
Can everyone hear me? Good morning. If you can hear my voice, say good morning. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming back to day 2. And it is really just an honor to be on stage with these amazing women. I hope that you found yesterday truly inspiring. And be ready for much more today, because today there will be a lot of conversations with young people, with you leading conversations, which is really why we're here. So let me first start and just say that, we all know that women and girls have been marginalized, relegated to the fringes for generations. And yet, human fraternity, something that we've been talking about, cannot exist without the equal inclusion of women. But progress is being made, right? There are globally more girls in school today than ever before. There are fewer child marriages. And gradually, more young women are able to control their lives and their futures. But progress needs to be accelerated. It's still taking us too long to get to that inclusion.
من هذه المؤسسة لما صلت إلى ما أنا عليه الآن. فقد كنت عميدة لكلية اسمها كلية العلوم الإسلامية للوافدين، رئيسا لمركز تطوير تعليم الطلاب الوافدين والأجانب. هذا المركز يعني فيه 52,000 طالب وافد من 137 دولة، وهذا رقم كبير جدا. وأن يسند هذا العمل لامرأة مع وجود رجال كثير في مؤسسة الأزهر، لا شك أنه لولا الدعم ولولا إيمان القيادة فضيلة الإمام بطاقة المرأة وجهود المرأة وأنها تستطيع أن تصنع الكثير لما كنت في هذا المكان. ثم توج هذا الأمر بأن أصبحت مستشارا لفضيلة الإمام وأنا امرأة في داخل مؤسسة الأزهر الشريف. أيضا لي مجلس علمي في الجامع الأزهر ويعد أول كرسي علمي للمرأة. إذا هذه المؤسسة قدرت قيمة المرأة وأدركت أن دعم المرأة، لأن صلاح المرأة في مجتمعاتنا هو صلاح للمجتمع بأكمله، والمرأة بمفردها إن لم يكن المجتمع داعما لها رجالا ونساء ومؤسسات وهيئات وجمعيات وحكومات لن سيجلي المجتمع الخراب والدمار، لأن المجتمع يعني خطابي هو للرجال أكثر، للمؤسسات، للجمعيات، للقيادات، لمن استطاع أن يكون صانعا للقرار. إدخال المرأة في الكثير من صناعة القرار، صناعة السياسات، صناعة القوانين الخاصة حتى بالمرأة، لأن من أدرى بالمرأة هي المرأة، فهي أدرى بحال نفسها. أيضا عندما أقول وأتحدث عن المرأة فإنما أتحدث عن تاريخ مشرق من النساء. ينبغي علينا نحن النساء أن نعرف ذلك التاريخ العظيم للمرأة والذي أدت فيه أدوارا مختلفة على مدار التاريخ، وأن نرجع إلى سير تلك النساء، فمنهن فقد أدينا وأبلينا بلاء حسنا في جميع الميادين الاقتصادية والاجتماعية والسياسية. وجدنا المرأة منذ القدم، وإذا كنا أمس رأينا هذه النماذج الملهمة وعرفناها مثل ماما شمسة ومثل أستاذة دينا، فالتي من الذي صنع ابنها الذي تحدثت عنه بالأمس، وكانت عانت ما عانت إلى أن أنتجت شابا الآن 27 عام كما سمعنا بالأمس، وهو في تخصص علم النفس. هذه المرأة تحتاج إلى من يدعمها لتستطيع أن تؤدي رسالتها كما ينبغي أن يكون. هذه القمة دعوة مفتوحة للجميع لدعم المرأة ومساندتها ومساعدتها.
Thank you. A couple of key points. I think we will all really identify with one of your points. The empowerment of women is the empowerment of all sectors of our community. Whereas with other groups, sometimes it's just that group, but women have this role to play. And so, actually, I have another question that you already answered, which is fantastic in terms of what the role is of other community leaders, institutional leaders. But what I would like to know is, you are in academics. So, are there things that you would like to see progress, advance for women in other sectors, other women's human rights that you would like to see some advancement on?
طبعا الاهتمام بالمرأة وليس اهتمام جزئي، وإنما يكون في ظل تخطيط لهذا الاهتمام. فليس الاهتمام بالمرأة شعار يرفع في كل مناسبة، وإنما كما قلت الآن الأزهر الشريف حول هذا الشعار إلى واقع حقيقي ملموس على أرض الواقع، ومني في مؤسسة الأزهر الكثيرات جدا. أما كون المرأة في النطاق الأكاديمي وأن يقتصر دعم المرأة على النطاق الأكاديمي، فالمرأة ينبغي أن تدعم من جميع القطاعات ومن جميع المؤسسات والهيئات، لأن القطاع الأكاديمي من شأنه الوعي، الثقافة، أن يلقي الضوء على هذه القضية ويفهم المرأة بحقوقها وواجباتها ومسؤوليتها ورسالتها، فهو قطاع يهتم بثقافة المرأة، بوعي المرأة، لكن أخذ حقوق المرأة يحتاج فيه إلى تعاون جميع القطاعات. وإذا كنا نتحدث عن حقوق الإنسان فليس هناك أولى من إعطاء المرأة حقها، لأن المرأة إذا أخذت هذا الحق وأخذه المجتمع بأكمله، يعني المرأة نحن نفهم خطأ، يعني عندما نعطي المرأة حقها فإنما أعطينا المجتمع حقه كاملا، أعطينا الطفل حقه، يعني صب الحنان بها تروه بطفلها متدفقا يربو على الأزمان. فإذا المرأة صب بها الحنان وصب بها الدعم وصب فيها المساندة، صبته في الأسرة أدبا وسلوكا وعلما وثقافة ووعيا. إذا هذا التلاحم والتعاون بين القطاعات جميعها لإعلاء شيء المرأة ولمساعدتها على أن تقوم بدورها الحقيقي، لأن المرأة طاقة خلاقة، طاقة هائلة جدا، لكن هي تحتاج إلى من يكشف عنها النقاب، تحتاج إلى من يدعمها ويساندها، لأنها عندما تكبد بأشياء كثيرة جدا يكون إعاقة لها عن أداء رسالتها وأداء مسؤوليتها. فإذا نحن فهمنا هذه الفلسفة فهو دعم للزوج، دعم للطفل، دعم للأسرة بأكملها، وليس دعم للمرأة. المرأة فقط أنا أدعمها لكي تؤدي رسالتها لإسعاد أسرتها، لإسعاد مجتمعها كذلك أيضا.
This concept of women having unimaginable power is actually really quite, it's very descriptive for me. I can just see this huge ball of light, right? And so, Dr. Epsi, I'd like to turn to you now. As the first Afro-descended woman to serve as Vice President of Costa Rica, we'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about the role that women can actually play in advancing human fraternity and compassion.
Thank you so much for the question, but I have to start to say thank you to my dear friend, a Nobel Prize laureate, Kailash, because of his invitation, and also with the Executive Director of Human Fraternity, the Judge Mohammed Abdesalam. Thank you so much to make together this amazing summit. And also to Sumeda, thank you so much because we feel here as a home. And this opportunity with youth people, it is not only talking about our experience, but also feel that we are in a very important moment of the development of the earth. We are in a transition moment. And that means that we have to understand the new sense of power. And the new sense of power is a care sense of power. Caring the people, caring the earth. Have love and have compassion. In the past, the sense of power is a competitive sense. It's a sense of individualism. It is a sense that who do more, who is more important, and a sense of an arrogance leadership. And I feel that women could add a lot on the new sense of power and a new sense of the real sense of being together in the same place. And that's my experience as a vice president of my country. Using this position, it is a matter to use a tool to help others. And I think that this is the sense of women empowered. It is a real new understanding that power is not enough in itself. It is the way that we have to use to think in those who suffer more, who think on those who need our help, as with policies, public policies, with resources, with new programs, etc. And being vice president, for me, is put together this knowledge of women power. Women power is a kind of thinking power as a mother, thinking in leadership. A mother think of all of those are in family and communities. A mother think of the necessity of a different necessity for each one. A mother learn and put in their action how to divide resources. A mother, and I think that power have to see as a mother power. And for me, as a vice president, I use the women power because I make a kind of council of women to advise the government in social and economic issues. Women for different political perspective, from different political background, also involve community leaders with academic leaders to think together what we have to do better. And how do we advise? They advise at their own leadership as women to the president and to get into the cabinet in the most important problems that we have to deal, because we are in governance when the pandemic are there. And that's why I feel that the world lose the possibility to have the power of women in parity in different levels of government, in business, in communities. And for me, that we have to, that means human fraternity. Human fraternity means that we could put in the feet of other, that means compassion, and women do that normally, not as exclusive means of do things, but normally women use the solidarity as a tool. And we heard the experience, for example, of Lima here, of Mama Shamsa here, that they normally use their love power, because this is the real change of the way that we are walking in the past. That means compassion and human fraternity both means meaning of love in power. And I feel that when more women are in leader position, we could resolve the problems that we have as a society.
Thank you. I think it's clear that you have been putting your passion into action for a number of years, right? And so thinking about that, this is the creation of these groups that were advising on public policy in Costa Rica, thinking about the advocacy that you yourself have done around the Inter-American Convention Against Racism and Racial Discrimination. What would your advice be? Like looking forward, there's a room of changing things. So what is the advice that you would give to young women and young men in terms of how do they actually do that advocacy on policy that is compassionate action?
First of all, I think that young people is more, I call them the shining generation, because they enlighten our way. But thinking in the future, the first of all, it is that men and women have to work together in the new world. And you as young people have to work a lot in this new sense of leadership. What that means. I have to focalize in 7 characteristics. The first one is have a real vision that the new society that you want to build. You have to have clear your vision. The second characteristic is have a mission. How? How are you going to get there? How are you going to achieve that vision? The third, it is the sense of knowledge and learn every day. The knowledge is a tool to change the things that you have to change. The fourth one is discipline. It is impossible to achieve something if you don't have discipline. The fifth one is have passion. Passion with happiness, of course, because we are here because we want. We want to share that vision, that mission, and we have to make it with happiness and with a lot of passion. But the sixth one is working together. It is impossible to achieve this new world. And working together means also to have the sense of equal rights between men and women, and to give women the place that they need to have. Not only because their own perspective, because we have a common way, and it's impossible to lose that kind of power that women have. The seventh one is, for me, compassion. It is impossible to have a leadership without putting the feet of others, without the feeling that we are part of those that suffer more. And I feel that that sense of compassion. But last but not least, we have to have inside the sense of grateful for the small and big things, for being alive, for work together. Because when we have this sense of grateful, we could deal all the problems, all the days. And I feel that if we accompany the youth, this China generation, to make possible this new sense of leadership, yes, we're going to achieve that new word, that sense of power to care us as people, and to care also the earth.
Thank you so much. And yes, it's all the generations coming together, right? So we're standing side by side. And given that, we will now turn to Rajagna. You've had an amazing journey being a successful YouTube influencer and content creator to becoming
really an incredible advocate against climate change. So what was the moment when you kind of knew this was one of the issues you wanted to work on? And what do you think got you there? Like, what attributed to that?
Got it. Hello, everybody. Good morning. First of all, I feel incredibly grateful to be in this room and on this stage. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Ashmita. Thank you, everyone who kind of. I didn't start talking about climate change on my own. I've been creating content for over 8 years now, and a little over 7 years ago is when I actually started talking about body positivity and in online hate and inclusivity, things like that. Went on to girls' education. Climate change was actually a conversation that I was meaning to start making, but I didn't have enough knowledge, or I didn't know much about it. I hadn't informed myself or spent that time in studying about it before I could speak. Is why when UNDP India came up to me and said that would you like to be the youth climate champion, I was just like, why me? Like, I haven't done any work in it. I know people who are doing incredible work on ground every single day and have been doing it for years now, who will have better things to say, who will have better feedback to give. But that I'm so glad that I went ahead with the partnership, and my journey on this conversation started, because what that has done is that has made me understand what my position or my contribution is in this conversation. Like I said, I'm not someone who's cleaning beaches every weekend. I'm not someone who's actively on the ground doing work, but I understand my place of power with the impact and reach that I get through my social media. So I very happily like to be in rooms of influence and conversations like this one, because then my role to absorb things that are going to make a difference, break it down into bite-sized pieces and disseminate it into my community so that there is actionable change that can bring about, makes it very exciting to me. So that is actually what got me to speak about climate change, and I'm very happy that I do.
Great. What I'm finding really fascinating is the discussion of power, right? Each one of you has already mentioned power, and in different ways. Kind of the power of women, the power of individuals. And that I think is really important for all of us to recognize, that there is power in the collective and power in the individual. So, sorry, before I forgot that, I just wanted to share. But so my next question then is, partly based on what you just talked about. You recognize your power in this conversation on climate change, right? So how do you envision kind of going forward, how you might bring in other issues of fraternity, compassion, rights issues into what your platform is?
I'm still learning, honestly. I wish I had a very ambitious answer for this, but as of now, I've always been such a fan of making conversations and being a part of conversations. So for going forward, I think just the fact that if you could just have people, women, sit down and speak, the impact is unimaginable. And I've seen that firsthand through a lot of things, not just climate change, but also girls' education, also mental health, also gender equality. So for now, just the impact that I do, tapping into that and seeing the number of conversations that I can amplify, and doing that is what my plan forward is.
Yes. Well, and I think that fact that you're always learning, right?
Always.
That you're open to that learning, which goes back to point number 3 on your list, right? That we're always acquiring knowledge, and that goes back to academic institutions and the need for being able to have these connections. So now I am going to turn, last but not least, to your endeavors and tireless efforts have been instrumental in giving voice to the marginalized and oppressed, particularly women and girls of the Banjara community. Of human fraternity and compassion can really bridge the gender gap within communities.
First of all, I want to say how proud and humbled I am to be sharing the stage with all of you. Thank you so much for the amazing work you do and you've done and continue to do for the world. So thank you for that. Anything I say about the issues of women would be incomplete without a mention to my mother, who is my inspiration, the bravest, the most courageous, the most compassionate person I know. She has always, we say that behind a successful man there's a woman. And I always believe that. I'm so sorry. She's not, the woman behind the man, but very firmly beside him. And that's what makes me so proud of her. And also, I think Nala mentioned that Dr. Nala mentioned that all of us who aspire to be leaders are raised by women like this. All of us, I'm sure, I think the same way about our mothers. So I think any conversation about bridging the gender gap also cannot be complete without us being honest, being truthful, and without taking a long and hard look at reality. So I had asked a colleague of mine to do some research on gender and what the current statistics and data is. And there was an article that said that in 2020, there were 50 million girls missing in India. Right? We're not even talking about girls who were abducted or trafficked or kidnapped, though those are horrific crimes in and of themselves. We are talking about girls who were murdered. Murdered in cold blood because there was a preference for the male child. And that makes me so angry. And I think it should make all of us angry. And that's where anger has to be the start of this conversation. Anger has to be the beginning for us to get to a state of compassion and human fraternity. We will not allow for these murders. We will not allow for child marriages, which is nothing but another way of enslaving young girls and women, right? So that is extremely important. We are so proud of all the girls of our Banjara community, of our BMGs, who are first generation schoolgoers. They have raised their voices. They have stood up against child marriage and other exploitation and atrocities. And I'm extremely proud of their mothers and also their fathers, who have supported them, stood them, allowed themselves to be convinced. So I think we also forget, their importance in our struggles and our fight for justice. Also, I would like to say that no conversation about gender is complete without men. So I think we could have been more inclusive in this panel and it should have been a man. But definitely want to mention very personally my father and my husband. Both of them have believed what I am capable of before I ever did. So I think men have to stand up with us. Again, it angers me so much to see the smartest women who were my classmates from business school getting caught up in, basically having the entire pressure of managing their children and their own lives, right? Because still, somewhere, all of us, it has been instilled in our brains for millennia that the role of the women is in the kitchen and to raise girls. So unless and until men take equal responsibility and understand that it is absolutely perfectly okay for them to be in the home. And this happens across socioeconomic. So I think this issue is actually not just related to who we like to call the marginalized and the deprived. It's everyone across the world. The gender pay gap in America angers me so much. So, we all have to accept harsh realities, face our truths, and then start to live them. Thank you so much.
Ms.
It's on, yes. Just a very quick note to it, and I subscribe to everything that Ashmita just said. Thank you for saying it the way that you did. One of the things that I learned is that, when it comes to conversations about women empowerment, about girls' education, about gender equality, we realize that, and I don't mean to be rude here, but if we have any people from corporate and people in positions of power, I'd like to kind of communicate this, that the communication has stagnated, and the same terminology, the same communication has been being made for a decade now, ever since. The first time it was made, it was revolutionary, thank you, but it's redundant now. For example, when you talk about girls' education, send your girl to school, send your girl to school. Why are we forgetting that you need to send your boy to school as well, so he understands why it's important for the girl to be to school? That was something I learned when I worked on my first project. Thank you. My first project for girls' education. I just feel like, I think as women, we have the power to change the conversation also, and kind of approach it from another side, because every poster we see, every women empowerment. What is women? Can someone please bring it down for me? I mean, you go, every communication that is made for things that are actually so much simpler is so complicated. So I really would, everywhere I go, I say this, if you're working in corporate, you're working in non-profit, you're working in the government, you're working as me, as a freelancer in business, if you have any place of power and any place of influence at all, even if you are the bread earner for just your family, I feel like if it's a conversation that you make in your family and people listen, please simplify communication around topics that affect us, because I don't think we have the time for communication to be understood. I don't think we have the time for messages to get through at their own pace. I think it's now. We do not have time. If we are speaking about climate change, speaking of the SDGs, we are halfway through. 2030 is like tomorrow. We don't have time for it. So simplify it. SDGs are Sustainable Development Goals that the UN has put in. So yeah, I'd just like to put that out. Yes, thank you.
Well, and on that, I think your point, simplified communication for us, it should never be simplified communication for us. We should be there making the communication, right? But that's part of, I think, the inclusion. That's what we've been talking about, which is how do we ensure that we actually bring those voices together in, and that is compassionate action. Thank you so much for your words, because I feel that this is an addition of young people talking in profound issues with simple words. Because the thing is that the knowledge, the people think that being make a message have to be complicated. And I feel that you, as a new generation, understand that more simple, more effective. And that not means that the message itself is simple, but the form to transmission the message has to be more simple, because we need to walk faster than we are walking until today. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. So, Asmita, I actually have another question. Oh, please, Dr. Nala. يعني أنا أضيف إلى ما قالته أختي الجميلة، يعني أنا أشكرها على ثنائها على الأم، ومما كتبت حقا الأم تستحق يعني أن يكون شكر الأم في الإمكان، وهي التي ضحت بلا حسبان. كيف الوفاء بشكرها وجهادها في كل حين فوق كل بيان؟ إن كان يعطي غيرها فلعلة، لكن عطاء الأم فيض حنان. تتحمل الآلام وهي كثيرة لترى بنيها في رضا وأمان. هي جنة الدنيا ففي أحضانها ترجى حياة المرء في اطمئنان. أتطيب دنيانا بغير وجودها، وهي العطاء الدائم الفيضان. أيضل من يهديه نور عطائها في الحب والأخلاق والعرفان. صونوا الشباب وأيقنوا أن الحمى يحتاج للفتيات والفتيان، هم حصنه وعماده، هم درعه الواقي من الحدثان. وأود هنا أن أشير إلى ما أشارت إليه الأخت الجميلة. حقا يعني دعم المرأة هذا مهم جدا. أنا أقول لكم شيئا يعني يشعرني بالسعادة البالغة جدا. أنا أطلق علي في الأزهر الشريف أم الوافدين. أنا أم ل3 أطفال، فإذا بي أفاجأ أني أصبحت أم ل52,000 طالب وافد. هذا لولا هذا الرجل الإمام الطيب أحمد الطيب ما كان لي أن أتولى هذه المسؤولية العظيمة جدا التي جعلتني أفكر في أشياء كثيرة فيما يتعلق بمستقبل هؤلاء الطلاب، فيما يتعلق بمستقبل الأخوة الإنسانية. هؤلاء الطلاب من 137 دولة، مختلف الفكر، مختلف الثقافة، مختلف العادات، مختلف التقاليد. جمعناهم في برامج وأنشطة وتدريبات لنصنع تلك الأخوة الإنسانية. ونحن قمنا ببرنامج رائع جميل جدا. هذا البرنامج اسمه أخ ثاني والرابط إنساني. أتمنى لهذه القمة الشبابية أن تتبنى هذا البرنامج ليصبح برنامجا عالميا يطبق في المعاهد والجامعات لنصنع تلك الأخوة الإنسانية. إذا كان هذا البرنامج نجح مع 52,000 طالب وافد، إذا هذا البرنامج يستحق أن يعمم لشبابنا ليصنعوا تلك الأخوة الإنسانية. كذلك أيضا مما صنعناه لهؤلاء، ومن هذا اللقب الذي أسعدني أم الوافدين، يعني أنا أقول لكم هذه المؤسسة العظيمة الأزهر جعلتني أشعر بسعادة لم أشعرها في حياتي. ما أجمل أن يسعد الإنسان ويشعر بنوع سعادة مختلف، نوع سعادة مميز. أنا لا أتحدث عن سعادة فردية، ولكن هذه السعادة التي تكون من أجل خدمة الإنسان أيا كان هذا الإنسان، أيا كانت بلده، ثقافته، ديانته. إذا عندما نسعى لخدمة هؤلاء الطلاب ليست خدمة علمية فحسب، يعني وضعت في مسؤولية عظيمة، إصلاح المناهج، فأصلحنا المناهج وغيرناها، وكنت رئيسة للجان وأنا امرأة. كذلك أيضا يعني كانت هناك مما أنشأته وحدة الدعم النفسي لهؤلاء الطلاب. وجدنا طلاب كثير حياتهم يعني مضطربة، حياتهم فوضى، حياتهم قلقة، يحتاجون إلى هذا الدعم النفسي والمساعدة، فأنشأنا لهم تلك الوحدة التي كشفت لنا مآسي لهؤلاء الطلاب والفتيات. أيضا كان أيضا هناك ملتقى الأخوة الإنسانية يجتمع فيه الطلاب في كل شهر مرة من دول مختلفة ليناقشون قضايا الأخوة الإنسانية، وكيف لهذه الدعوة أن تكون دعوة عالمية، وأن نصل بها لنصل إلى مجتمع، إلى سلام حقيقي، إلى مجتمعات تؤمن بهذا السلام الحقيقي واقعا عمليا، وغيره الكثير والكثير مما استطعنا. فأنا أقول أؤكد على عندما تدعم المؤسسات والمنظمات والهيئات، عندما تدعم المرأة تجد المرأة عندها طاقة هائلة جدا لإخراجها طالما أنها لاقت هذا الدعم. فالمرأة كيان لا يستهان به، خلقها الله قادرة على أشياء كثيرة، فحرام على مجتمعاتنا أن تئد هذا العطاء وهذا التميز الذي هو عند المرأة. شكرا.
So we are, I think, out of time. So sorry, as we know, we won't be able to get to the second question. But I'd just like to end by actually asking all 4 of you to do like a one-word answer, right? So I'm going to ask you to please fill in the blank, okay? Compassion means blank to me. So, Dr. MC.
Put in the feet of others and act about the react.
Great. Dr. Nala.
الرحمة هي سعادة المجتمع بأكمله.
Compassion means equality to me.
Asmita.
Today in this room, compassion means all of you and all of us together who will who definitely will globalize compassion.
Thank you, thank you. So I think what is very clear is we have a lot of mamas in the audience. We have Mama Nawa, we have Mama Shamsa, we have Mama Leila, and we have Mama. And there are probably many, many, many more mamas. Please know that you do not have to be a woman to be a mama, okay? Right? That's what this is all about. So women and men can be mothers and use mother power and love power on our shining generation to really light the path ahead. So thank you all to these amazing women.
So it's time now for the customary panel photograph.
Yes.
Big round of applause, please. Everyone standing together hand in hand in solidarity and faith. तालियां हो जाए एक बार. Well, what a session that was, and what an incredible moment. So many dignitaries on the stage together, all in solidarity, joining hands together for a better and a compassionate world. A big round of applause to everyone over here. A big round of applause to all of us. As the stage gets set for the next session, which is also a very important session coming up, I would urge every one of you, आप सब के लिए एक छोटा सा मेरा मैसेज है. मैसेज वो है कि ये जो 2 दिन का जो कार्यक्रम चल रहा है, आप लोग सब हिस्सा ले रहे हैं इस पे. हम सब मिलके नाच रहे एक साथ, गा रहे एक साथ, सुन रहे सुबह से. जिन लोगों को मिलने के लिए महीने सालों लग जाते हैं, सब आपके लिए, आपसे बात करने के लिए एक साथ आए हैं. तो जो मैसेज जा रहा है, करुणा का मैसेज, जो मैसेज जा रहा है, कंपैशन का मैसेज, इसको अपने अंदर, हम सब अपने अंदर इसको बसा ले, ताकि जो कैलाश जी हमेशा बोलते आ रहे हैं, इग्नाइट योर स्पार्क ऑफ कंपैशन, वो करुणा का जो दीप है, वो हमारे अंदर हमेशा जलते रहना चाहिए. हम उसको रखेंगे ना, वो दीप को जला के रखेंगे, हाँ या ना? सुना नहीं दिया? Well, in the words of Nobel Peace Laureate Kailash Satyarthi, हमारे सबके आदरणीय भाई साहब, the energy and idealism of youth have the potential to bring about meaningful change for a better world. Our next session, which is a plenary session, focuses on global youth leaders who have brought about systemic change and touched thousands of lives at the grassroots level. We welcome you all to actionizing human fraternity and compassion. Today, we have gathered here not only to discuss, but to ignite the spark of compassion in action among our youth who represent the future of our beautiful world. Let's have a big round of applause for all our brothers and sisters out here. I would now like to call upon Mr. Owen James, the Global Campaign Director, 100 million for 100 million on stage, to take the session forward. Owen, the stage is yours.
Well, welcome to this session on actioning human fraternity and compassion with young leaders from around the world. It has already been an honor for me just to spend the weekend with so many amazing young change makers in this special summit. So I was even more delighted to be asked to facilitate this important session. It is a difficult time in the world. A series of crises, from the COVID pandemic to the climate crisis, the war in Ukraine, the growing debt and grain crisis, just to name a few. They have impacted on everyone, but they have hit the poorest children the hardest. There are 150 million more people hungry in this world than there were 10 years ago. The number of child laborers has gone up 20 million in Africa in the last decade. It is likely to be the highest it's ever been. In fact, as the 100 Million campaign reported recently, more young African children have died unnecessarily from poverty in the last 5 years than all of the world's military victims in the 5 years of World War I. The scale is horrendous. Yet the world has never been richer. My generation has overseen an unequal and an uncompassionate decade that brings shame to this world. But what gives me hope in these dark times is the growing impact and interconnectedness of young people. Their attitudes are more tolerant. More young people support equality between men and women. More young people believe that every child, wherever they are born, whatever their religion or caste, deserves an equal chance in life. Their attitudes are more compassionate. Their hearts and minds are more open to the experiences and the suffering of others. But above all, young people, fed up with the injustice in their community and the world, are taking on leadership roles now. I have never been in a forum with more actual change makers. Whoever you stop and talk to, each and every person here is changing lives in their communities and in their countries. Not tomorrow, but now. So this session is not only about inspiring youth activists, but it's also about the change we need to see in the world, how we're going to get there, and what we can learn from each other. I cannot think of a better panel to explore these issues with than the 6 amazing change makers we have, who are strengthening the human fraternity and are the embodiment of compassion in action, whether that's in their local community, whether that's in their country, or whether that's around the world. And first, I'd like to introduce to the stage Esther from Mombasa in Kenya, who is a young leader dedicated to creating a bright future for her community with a focus on youth empowerment, gender equality, and social justice. Welcome, Esther. Next, I would like to introduce Grace from from Jakarta in Indonesia. Grace is from the Sant Egido community and works to help older generations, supporting the Santa Ana Home for the Elderly. Grace normally volunteers there every Sunday morning, so it seems particularly important to invite her this Sunday morning to share more. Grace, welcome. The next speaker is one of the most remarkable and inspiring individuals I have ever met. A child labourer at the age of 6, working in one of the most dangerous places, a stone quarry, he was rescued by BBA. At Bahashram, he got interested in the law, and he's now become a children's rights lawyer who spends his life trying to free other children in India and across the world. He's the trustee of the 100 Million campaign, and I'm honoured to share his stage with you, Amar. Please go. Please also welcome the next speaker, Jessia. She's another member of the Sant Egido community in Jakarta, Indonesia. She volunteers at the Santa Ana Home for the Elderly too. She also takes part in a benefit concert to support the education of underprivileged children right across Indonesia. Welcome, Jessia. I'll keep calling the speakers. The next speaker is Ikra, from the rural village of Wata in northern India. When she became secretary of the Children's Council, she set about improving education for everyone in her community by trying to bring light and electricity to a school. Through her relentless efforts, including a sit-in protest, she was able to force the local authorities to act. And last Diwali, in the Festival of the Lights, appropriately enough, the first light bulb lit up in her classroom. Ikra, please come to the stage. Now, I've left our final panelist till last. He's one of the most influential change makers in Africa today. He grew from a change maker in his community to the national level as leader of the Ghanaian Students' Union, and then from there to become Secretary General of the All Africa Students' Union, working to secure the rights of over 30 million students and young people in Africa. He's also a trustee of the 100 Million campaign and a founder of the new Global Students' Forum. There is no better person to do that than the remarkable Peter. Peter. This is working. Okay, so we're going to get straight to it. We want to show that young people can answer even more questions than the dignitaries we had on so far. So we're going to try and get to quite a lot of questions in a short amount of time. And we're going to ask 3 questions in the first go, and then we can be able to manage that. The first question, just in one sentence or two, I'm going to ask you is, what does human fraternity mean to you? The second part, at what age do you think you were most compassionate? And then thirdly, what do you think is the most compassionate thing that you've done that you'd like to share? Yes, sir.
Gratitude goes to my mentor, commercial staff, for giving me this platform. So, human fraternity to me, it means being compassionate, sharing hope and love to the people of your own community and the rest of the world. And the age that I felt I was more compassionate is at the age of 24 years when I met Mama Shamsa, who really, at a glance, saw what I was going through. And she told me, my daughter, you don't need to carry all the burden that you are on your own. If you need someone to share, you can see me. But what I can tell you for now, you are too ambitious. You have a lot of things to do and you want to accomplish it within a short time. Kindly break it down and have a priority list on what you can do first and what can follow. And then how I incorporate human fraternity in my work. I share compassion with my fellow youth. As for now, I'm volunteering with an organization known as Manyata Youth, which is based in Mombasa, as a programs coordinator. So what I do most is I share most of my time with youth who are at risk on joining violent extremism. These youth do not have a platform where they can share their own struggles and where they can be empowered so that they can have an alternative way or an alternative livelihood to have money in the pocket and food in the table. So what I do mostly, I create a safe space with young women whereby we share our stories, what we undergo. And then from there, we give tips on how best have you overcome it. And as I have a skill on how to meet maths using ordinary lab and a stream, I also show them how they can meet a good maths and sell them at a price of which at the end of the day they have something in their wallet, in their pocket. And also I show compassionate as I represent young people on various decision-making tables. So when I do that, I usually make it intentional as my agenda. If you are talking anything about you, these youth need to be on this table. They need to say what they are undergoing and how best they can solve the problems that they are having. So I make it deliberate that youth must be in this table and they must be listened. It's not a request, but it's a must. Because that's the only way we can create environment for them. We can learn on how they are seeing these challenges, and as old people, how best can you provide those safe spaces for us so that we can share. At times people say you are ignorant, but we are not. It's just you don't want to give us a listening ear. And how can you share humanity or compassion if you do not want to give a listening ear to listen? Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, Esther. And that's exactly what we can start on this conversation. And we'll come back to that theme of broader what young people want in the next set of questions. Coming to you, Grace, the same sort of first two questions. What does human fraternity mean to you? What age do you think you were the most compassionate? And what do you think is the most compassionate thing you've done with your leadership?
In my opinion, the most compassionate is when in my opinion, the most compassionate thing in life is when I visit grandparents in a nursing home. Even though when I visit them, I just stories about their situation, help give them something to drink or eat. But this makes them very happy because they feel there are still many people where are compassionate with them. This can be seen I don't visit them for a while. They will try to contact me via WhatsApp or telephone. I have also done other service in San Egidio, namely visiting people who live on the street to distribute food and drinks. I only did this a few times, but didn't come to the service there. They sent greetings to me through my friend who come. Not only they told me I could visit them again.
Thank you. And Mark, same two questions to you. What was compassion?
थैंक यू ओवेन। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कंपैशन आप उन चीजों को तब मानते हैं जब आप किसी की समस्या को या किसी के दर्द को, जो दर्द आपको हो रहा है और अगर वो दर्द किसी और पर्सन को भी हो रहा है और अगर आप उसके दर्द को उस तरीके से समझ पाए तो वो अपने आप में एक करुणा है, वो कंपैशन है। अगर आप दूसरों के दर्द को नहीं समझ सकते, दूसरों की समस्याओं को नहीं समझ सकते, कोई पर्सन किसी दिक्कत में है, अगर आप उसको सुधार नहीं सकते तो आपके अंदर में वो करुणा नहीं है। तो करुणा का मतलब सिंपल सा है, जो भाई साहब जी हम सभी को हमेशा बोलते हैं या फिर हम सभी लोग यहाँ पर आप उन समस्याओं को हल करने के लिए तैयार हैं। जब आप एक साथ खड़े हैं उन चीजों को और उन समस्याओं को आप हल करेंगे, यही अपने आप में एक करुणा है। So the is when I realize what is compassion, तो वो जो करुणा है, क्योंकि मेरी कहानी अपने आप में उस तरीके से है, मैं पत्थर के खदानों में काम करता था और माता भाई साहब ने 2001 में मुझे पत्थर खदान से काम से छुड़ाया और उसके बाद में मैं बालाश्रम आया और मैंने वहां पर बहुत सारे अपने जैसे बच्चों को देखा, मेरे गुरुजी, दूसरे लोगों के प्यार, उनकी जिंदगी किस तरीके से लोग जी रहे हैं। और मुझे तब समझ में आया कि सिर्फ मैं ही नहीं हूँ जो कहीं ना कहीं किसी ना किसी जगह पर बुरी स्थिति में है या कहीं ना कहीं काम कर रहा है, लेकिन मेरे जैसे ऐसे करोड़ों बच्चे हैं जो भी और बुरी हालातों में हैं, लेकिन किन हालातों में होने के बावजूद भी जो हमारे लोग हैं, माता भाई साहब हैं, हमारे साथी हैं, वो सभी लोग उसी तरीके से उन बच्चों के लिए काम कर रहे हैं। और हम ये चाहते हैं कि देश का कोई भी बच्चा काम ना करे, कोई भी बच्चा, कोई भी बच्ची हो, चाहे वो बच्चा हो, उसका बाल विवाह ना हो, कोई भी बच्चा किसी भी तरीके के जो यौन शोषण है उसका शिकार ना हो। तो जब मैंने ये सारी चीजें सीखना शुरू करी और मैं उन चीजों को कब शुरू कर सकता हूँ, तो बालाश्रम वो एक जगह थी जहां से मैंने इन चीजों को सीखा और जहां से मेरी करुणा शुरू हुई। और हम सभी लोग आज इस जगह पे इकट्ठे हुए हैं क्योंकि हम सभी लोगों का उद्देश्य यही है। मेरी खुद की एक कहानी आप लोगों के साथ में बताना चाहता हूँ। ऐसी बहुत सारी कहानियां हैं, लेकिन उनमें से एक कहानी है, जब मैंने अपनी वकालत खत्म करी और उसके बाद में मैं कोर्ट गया अपनी प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए, तो दिल्ली का डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट था 30,000 कोर्ट। तो मैं अपने जो सीनियर थे उनके साथ में चैम्बर में बैठा हुआ था और उसके बाद में लंच होने के बाद में मैं वापस कोर्ट की तरफ गया। तो वहां पर कोर्ट में एक कोने में एक बच्ची खड़ी थी और उसके फादर खड़े थे और बच्ची की उम्र करीब 12-13 साल रही होगी। तो काफी डरे हुए थे और तो मैंने पूछा कि आप लोग यहाँ पर क्यों खड़े हो, कुछ मदद चाहिए क्या? तो शुरू में तो वो कुछ बोल नहीं रहे थे। उसके बाद में मैंने उनको बताया कि मैं बचपन बचाओ आंदोलन से हूँ और हम इस तरीके के केसेस वगैरह करते हैं जो बच्चों से संबंधित हैं। अगर आपको कोई दिक्कत है, कोई समस्या है तो बताइए। तो बच्ची के फादर ने किसी भी तरीके से बताना शुरू किया कि हमारा एक केस है और इस बच्ची के साथ में एक पुलिस वाले ने रेप किया है और वो केस उसी कोर्ट में चल रहा था और वो पुलिस वाला क्योंकि एक बड़ा ऑफिसर था तो उसके बहुत अच्छे जो बड़े वकील हैं 30,000 कोर्ट में उनके साथ में बड़े अच्छे कनेक्शन थे और जिस वकील को उन्होंने अपनी तरफ से हायर किया हुआ था उसने उस बच्ची के सारे स्टेटमेंट ही चेंज कर दिए और हालत ये हुई कि वो जो पुलिस वाला है उसको बेल मिल गई और उसका केस कंप्लीटली फंस गया और जब भी हियरिंग होती तो जो सामने वाली पार्टी है उसके बहुत सारे वकील एक साथ इकट्ठा हो जाते कोर्ट के अंदर में जज साहब के सामने और तारीखें ले लेते और केस को आगे बढ़ने नहीं देते। तो मैं उनको लेकर के हमारे चैम्बर गया जहां पर हमारे सीनियर बैठे हुए थे तो मैंने उनको ये सारी चीजें बताई। हम 4-5 वकील इकट्ठा किए और हमने वहां पर जाकर के फ्रेश वकालतनामा फाइल किया उस बच्ची के बिहाफ पे और हमने दोबारा उसकी बेल खत्म करी, उस पुलिस को वापस जेल में भिजवाया और उस बच्ची को उस तरीके से न्याय मिला। तो ये अपने आप में मेरे लिए एक पहली कहानी थी करना। थैंक यू।
Can I ask the same questions to you, Jessica? What does human fertility mean to you?
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you for the great opportunities. I will answer the first. To caring, to appreciate and love each person, regardless of their physical appearance, regardless of their cultures, regardless of where he or she was born or lives. And then when I joined San Egidio, I see human fraternity in action all over the world. We have friendship with anyone in need, with homeless, with refugees, with migrants, with elderly, with people with disabilities, with prisoners, and also with street children. And the second question, I realized I was the most compassionate person when I was 18 years old. At the time I studied my undergraduate and very active in community. I think I start to think, I begin to think, to understand the meaning of what the meaning of the various services I do. And I realized the purpose is same with the meeting, is to spread love, spread human fraternity and compassion. And the third question, I think I've done a lot of compassion thing through San Egidio. Like sometimes I do services in School of Peace where there is street children, free after school program of street children. They play together there, they study together there. And then I do service to the homeless. We gave them food every Friday night. We gave dinner to them and talk about their life. We have friendship with them. But the most compassionate is the most compassionate things is when I do become friends to the elderly in the care homes there to fight loneliness. We visit them, sharing a little bit, and it is an alliance between young and old, and I believe that is where the compassion begins. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And we'll keep him going with us. What do you think of what does compassion mean to you? And how old do you feel you were most compassionate? And could you share an example with us that you did when you were compassionate?
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्ते। मैं यूपी से हूँ। करुणा वही है, अगर हम किसी के दुख को देख के उसे अपना समझ के चलते हैं ना, वही करुणा है हमारे लिए। अगर किसी बच्चे को देख रहे हैं हम, वो दुख में है, उसी को हम फील कर रहे हैं कि वो दुख उसे नहीं हमें हो रहा है, वही हमारे लिए करुणा का भाव है। करुणा सबके अंदर है, ये नहीं किसी के अंदर करुणा नहीं है। बस उस भाव को उत्पन्न करने की हमें आवश्यकता है, उस भाव को फील करने की आवश्यकता है कि हाँ हमारे अंदर करुणा है। जब हम किसी को दुख में देखते हैं वो हम फील करते हैं कि हाँ वो दुख उसे नहीं हमें हो रहा है, तो वही हमारे लिए करुणा है। तो जब मैं लगभग 13 या 14 साल की थी, जब स्कूल में लाइफ नहीं थी 16 साल से, और हमने बाल पंचायत के बच्चों के साथ मिलकर, संगठन के साथ मिलकर अपने स्कूल के लिए प्रयास किया था, क्योंकि बच्चों को बहुत दिक्कत होती थी। कभी मौसम खराब होता है तो क्लास में अंधेरा हो जाता है, पढ़ने में दिक्कत होती है, गर्मी ज्यादा होती है, बच्चों को पढ़ने में दिक्कत होती है, जिसकी वजह से उनका भविष्य खराब हो जाता है, क्योंकि पढ़ाई बहुत जरूरी है जीवन के लिए, और बहुत दिक्कत होती थी। तो हम सब ने मिलकर प्रयास किया, बहुत बाधाएं आई थी, लेकिन हम डरे नहीं, हम सफल हुए अपने प्रयास में। 16 साल बाद हमारे स्कूल में खास दिवाली वाले दिन बल्ब चला था, और मेरे लिए सबसे खुशी की बात यह है कि वो पहला बल्ब मैंने ही अपने स्कूल में जलाया था। पहला बल्ब मैंने ही जलाया था अपने स्कूल में। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much. And then coming to you last speaker, I know there's a lot of examples to choose from, but I'll ask you the same questions. Please share.
All right. Thank you. I think I would want to start by thanking yourself, thanking Kalashji and Smeda. I think that all of you have been very kind in the way that you've brought us your children. And I think that that's something that I would want to start on. And I think I'll give credit to my understanding of compassion to Kalashji. And this goes back to 2018, when we had invited him to an event we had in Africa. And I think that was when he showed us the documentary, The Price of Freedom. And when we watched it, everybody in the room, teared. Everybody was taken to the core how this could happen. And so after the documentary, I sat with him just to ask him about things. And so I asked him, like, what makes you do what you do? And at the time, that was when he introduced me to compassion. And this was way back in 2018. And he told me that there has to be the point where we're just human beings. It's just being a human being. It's innate in all of us to love. But it shouldn't just end when we love, but to take an action on when we love, because that's when we begin to draw the distinctions between empathy and pity and all of those things. So when we show compassion, it's an extension of when we can love, when we can put an action to it. So, for example, if someone is angry, obviously you'd share kind words and all that, but you'd feed. That's the action part. If somebody doesn't have a roof over their head, you clearly would take them in, provide them shelter. That's an action. And yesterday, you would realize that almost everybody that took in the stage and shared the story ended with taking an action on what they felt. Does that make us angry? Yes, it does. I mean, if you listen to Ashmeta, you could sense, yes, we get angry. We get angry at the injustice. We get angry at how we can't share things fairly, at how we can do things in a manner that shows that we're human beings. And so, yes, so that is how I have understood it. And I think that if I thought I understood it, when I met him again last year at the UNGA, he again shed further light on that. But I think that I'll be able to share that later on. But if you ask at what age, I think this would be like when I turned 30. And then the example I gave will support that. So I was supposed to supervise a particular examination, and I've met so many people all the way to the exams hall. But I took a staircase and I met one woman, I think she'd be in like her 50s, and she was crying. I mean, I went up and then I came down. How I did that, I don't know. But I came back and I saw she was weeping. So I approached her and asked her why she was crying. And she said that this was the 5th time she was taking that particular paper. And incidentally, that was the paper that I was going to supervise. So I asked her why. She said she had done a brain surgery and she forgets everything that she studies. Just by the minute she forgets it. This one clearly won't pass any exams. So how, prior to the 5th time that I had met her, nobody had told that, like she needed special attention. To make her matter even worse, the ID card she needs to give her access to the exam, so she had left that at home. Where does this woman live? She lives so far away. On that day, the fuel in my car was like, whatever. So again, it tells us that we don't have to have enough to be able to show compassion. Because if I looked at my circumstances that day, I would not have helped. So I asked her if someone was home. She said yes. So I took the number, called, and then the husband was there. So I asked him if he knew where the ID card would be. He said yes. I said, okay, I'll send a driver to pick it up for the woman. But I also realized that even if the woman had the ID card, she still would fill that paper. So I took her, and then it was my paper. So I guided her and said, okay, this way, and then I took her ID. And then afterwards, whatever you could do to support her, I did. And she graduated that year. Every year that woman calls to say, I have to let her know, you can't say thank you to me because other people. So it's just being a human being. I think that's how I understand it.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you to everyone for that first round. We're now going to ask 2 questions in one go. It's a bit easier. The first of those is to put compassion in action. What do we need decision makers to do? And then the second of those, to help realize the human fraternity, or to help realize the globalization of compassion, what do you plan to do? So if you could try and answer both of those questions. We've got roughly 2 minutes each at most, so I'll jump in around that time just to make sure we hear from everyone. And, Esther, over to you. We go in the same order, that would be great.
Well, thank you so much for such questions. So, to put compassion into place, decision makers need, it may seem hard, but it's simple. So what they need to do is, as decision makers, they are the policy makers in the country or in a state. So as the policy that they are advocating for change or implementation, how best do they ensure that there is humanity, they carry humanity in them? And as they do that, they will have to cascade them down to the people. And for these people whom they look up to and depend on, how best will they share the policy views on and with humanity on it? It's not an issue of rubber stamping, saying that or officiating. Yes, we did public participation, but what impact did that public participation have to the people of that community? And how best can they incorporate humanity on that? And then for the second question on how I will put compassion on human fraternity in my work, we have been working on having a safe space, a multifunctional safe space. And Mama Shamsa, as board member, she's leading the resource mobilization team. And we are looking on having a safe space which have psychosocial support for the youth who are at risk to join violent extremism or to join Al-Shabaab. And apart from that, we offer skills, knowledge and skills that can be easily shared to young people, despite of their diversity, despite of their knowledge, despite of their education. So these skills include arts. We use arts, and they can have skills on maybe playing the piano, playing the drum set. And apart from that, we have skills on how can you best do the knitting and sell them. And also we are looking on addressing the issue of climate change, because it is our agenda as the people whom we are looking at the future youth. So how best can we do that? How best can we instill skills on mitigating the impact of climate change so that it won't be so adverse coming in the next years? And so as a programs coordinator, I align my programs on around upskilling youth, not only on issue of having skills and earning money, but also on issue of being compassionate, feeling empathy to other people and reacting to their needs. Because if you come to me, I tell you my story, and you feel empathy, and you leave me at that stage, you have not helped me. Because at the end of the day, I'll have to relapse. I'll continue having this mental health. But if you give me psychosocial support, a listening ear, and giving me something else to do, and you see my prosperity, that's based on how we can say that humanity and compassion to the young generation that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Really beautifully put, and exactly as I said, all the answers are coming from this panel. That's really well explained. So Grace, over to you with the same two questions. To put compassion in action, what do we need decision makers to do, and to help realize the human fraternity? What are you planning to do? If you keep it to 2 minutes or less, we've got a few minutes left.
I suggest decision makers to be brave in taking action, because in my opinion, anything that is done without real action is in vain. And the second question is, my plan is this experience I have gained in here and also in St. Egidio by visiting school or university and
So taking the word from the health center and going out to the community. Very good. Well, we look forward to hearing more on that. Thank you, Grace. And now I'm going to ask you, your mother, the same questions. To put compassion in action, what do we need decision makers to do? And to put compassion in action, what are you planning to do?
जब मैं डिसीजन मेकर्स या लोगों की बात करता हूँ, जब जिम्मेदार लोगों की बात करता हूँ, तो उन लोगों को इन बात का ध्यान रखना जरूरी है कि जब वो कोई भी कानून बना रहे हैं, कोई भी पॉलिसीज बना रहे हैं, किसी भी चीज बना रहे हैं, क्या उनसे संबंधित लोगों को वो उसमें शामिल कर रहे हैं कि राय है। आपने कोई भी कानून बना दिया, कोई भी बना दिया, उसको सिर्फ बनाना जरूरी नहीं है, आप होना उन लोगों की देश भर में या दुनिया बच्चों के अधिकारों की बात को अगर आप बच्चों की बातें कर रहे हैं, अगर आप उनके अधिकारों की बातें कर रहे हैं, तो उनसे सुनिए, और अगर वो कोई राय दे रहे हैं तो उनको इम्प्लीमेंट करिए। सो नियत इस बहुत बहुत जरूरी है हमारे जितने भी जो डिसीजंस मेकर हैं उनके लिए। व्हाट वी कैन डू, तो मुझे लगता है कि एक्शन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, नॉट ओनली अबाउट टॉकिंग। मकसद से बैठे हैं सिर्फ भाषण देने के लिए या फिर यहाँ पर सुन करके जाने के लिए नहीं। आप जब वापस जाएंगे अपनी कम्युनिटी में, अपने दोस्तों के पास में, अपने घरों में, अपने रिश्तेदारों के आसपास में, और जब भी आप किसी भी तरीके का गलत देखते हैं किसी बच्चे के साथ में, किसी के साथ में भी कुछ भी बुरा होता है, क्या आप उस समय कुछ करेंगे? क्या सुधार लाने के लिए तैयार हैं? क्या आप बोलेंगे? क्या आप आवाज उठाएंगे? जिस दिन आपने आवाज उठाना शुरू कर दी, जिस दिन आपने उन बच्चों के लिए बोलना शुरू कर दिया, जिस दिन आपने उन दूसरे बच्चों की बातें करना शुरू कर दी, उसी दिन से वो बदलाव आएगा और वही अपने आप में कंपैशन गिना जाएगा। तो हम सभी लोगों के लिए अपने आप में कंपैशन यही है कि आप एक्शन ओरिएंटेड होते रहिए। थैंक यू।
Thank you. So we're going to come to you, Jesse, now on the same two questions. To put compassion in action, what do we need decision makers to do, and also what do you plan to do to help realize the human fraternity?
Okay, thank you. I think decision makers, especially young people here, have to get out of their comfort zones and take action, do voluntary, do services, and so they can feel the blessings, feel the joy, feel the love after taking that action. And then the second question, this meeting very inspiring me, so I have planned to sharing my experience like this to young people in Indonesia, to schools, to university, to other young friends, and also maybe share it to social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And then Ikra, the same two questions to you.
किसी भी समुदाय को बनाने के लिए पहले हमें उसमें ना जो समुदाय से जुड़े लोग हैं उनकी भी राय लेनी चाहिए, क्योंकि सबकी राय लेने से हमें पता चलेगा कि हम सही कर रहे हैं या गलत, सबकी अलग अलग राय होगी, तो सब अलग अलग बताएंगे तो हमें पता चलेगा, अलग अलग चीज पता चलेगी। जैसे कि यहाँ पे सभी लोग बैठे हैं, सबने अच्छे अच्छे काम किया है, तो उनसे हम प्रेरणा ले सकते हैं, क्यों ना हम भी उनके जैसे काम करें, जैसे भैया लोग कर रहे हैं, दीदी लोग कर रहे हैं, सभी कर रहे हैं, अच्छे अच्छे काम कर रहे हैं सब, तो हमें उनसे प्रेरणा लेनी चाहिए। और समुदाय में सभी लोगों की साझेदारी हो तो उनकी भी राय लेनी चाहिए।
Thank you, Ikra. And then coming to you, Peter, to finish off this fantastic session, those two questions. You know, to put that compassion in action, what do we need decision makers to do? And to put compassion in action, you know, what are you planning? What are you thinking to do going forward?
Okay, all right. So I would say that at some point I thought that adults had a problem of complicating things. Like every simple thing seems very complicated. But I read Kalaji, I mean, he doesn't complicate things. Oh, you don't so like they don't complicate things, because you would think that things are very simple. Like, I mean, one of the initial speakers, I mean, she said that like make things very simple. So, for example, we'll think that the biggest of the challenges that we're talking about here is how we allocate and distribute things that come in. So, just that when we make policy, our mind will be that it is clear if we have a pool of money here and we ask them to distribute it, I'll obviously look at who needs it more and allocate it. But when it comes to the international system, they sit and they are complicating the mathematics and then eventually those who have take more and then they give less to those who need it more. So I think that one of the things that we want to say is that it just has to be fair, and that's one of the campaigns that we want. Fair share, just a fair share of doing things. We're not asking for unreasonable things. I think that, I mean, when you listen to even what in this morning, Kalaji said, look, nature, it gives, it takes. Everybody gives, takes, but the problem comes when we just want to take and not give, and then that becomes a problem. But as young people also, I also think that we also have that role to play. And so like Mama Lema said, there are a lot more good people. But why the few bad people would triumph over good people is that good people don't speak. Good people are silent at every turn. If we rise up in our numbers and continue to advocate for these things, my thinking, and I think that generally it's been proven each and every time, that when we ask for things, when we demand them, when we don't stop until they are done, we'll eventually have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Now, this is going to bring an end to this panel, but it's not actually the end of the discussions on youth leadership or from youth leadership. This is a youth summit, and what the plan is, it's literally just the beginning of these discussions on these questions. So the very next session, we're going to start to actually try and hear the answers from all of the fantastic youth activists at this summit. And then going into tomorrow, there's a series of different youth sessions planned where they'll be developed into something powerful that we'll be bringing together at the back of the summit. But it's, for now, to bring the panel to end, I just want to say thank you to you, Esther and Grace, Samara, Jessie, and Peter. 5 questions, 6 people. I think we've shown everyone how it can be done. Such brilliant ideas and answers. So thank you for what you've done. Thank you for today. And thank you for what you're about to do. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Owen, for carrying on with this magnificent discussion, and a round of applause for all our young leaders out here. And honestly, what an engaging session that was. But the best is yet to come. In the next 45 minutes, in our first youth breakout session, let us all get together, deepen our connection, and share our invaluable experiences and understand what all of us have collectively accomplished over the past day and a half. I would now request Owen James once again on stage and request our prolific youth leaders, Kinchu, Anushka and Sahana on stage to come forward to steer this exciting session. Talia ho jaye!
अच्छा आप लोग मैं बस ये पूछना चाहती हूँ पहले कि कितनी एनर्जी है अभी आवाज नहीं आ रही है कितनी एनर्जी है मुझे लगता है बाहर के रास्ते तक आवाज नहीं गई है अभी तक अगर एनर्जी है तो बताइए कितनी एनर्जी है नहीं अभी भी नहीं आई जोर से यहाँ पे अभी हमारे पीछे बैठे हुए अमोल के साथ बैठे हुए लोग बिल्कुल भी एनर्जेटिक नहीं है अच्छा आप तैयार हैं कि अब हम आपके साथ आप लोगों के साथ जो आप हमारे यूथ लीडर्स है युवा नेता हैं आप लोगों के साथ हम जो है अभी ब्रेकआउट सेशंस करने वाले हैं जिसमें हम चाहते हैं कि आप लोग जो कि एक यंग एनर्जेटिक माइंड है कि आगे आप करुणा के ऊपर ह्यूमन फ्रेटर्निटी के ऊपर अपनी बातों को कैसे लेके जाएंगे इस काम के लिए आप तैयार हैं नहीं अभी भी तैयार नहीं है मजा नहीं आ रहा थोड़ा सा और जोर से आप तैयार हैं चलिए ठीक है मैं अब अनुष्का को बुलाऊंगी अनुष्का जो है ब्रीफ करेगी कि हम इस सेशन को कैसे करेंगे और क्या क्या चीजों का हमें ध्यान रखना होगा तो आप ध्यान से सुनेंगे और हमें जो है इसको कायदे से और नियमित रूप से हमें करना है क्योंकि ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है आप मानिए कि हम जो कल से हमने जितनी भी बातें की हैं उन सबका एक सार है ये कि आप लोग एक अपने बातों को लेकर एक हम पूरे विश्व में जाएंगे कि हम कंपैशन करुणा और ह्यूमन फ्रेटर्निटी के लिए हम किस चीज को आगे रखना चाहते हैं हम अपने गांव से लेके विश्व तक इस बातों को हम जो है आगे ले जाएंगे और वो बात सिर्फ आप ही निकालेंगे ठीक है चलो एक बार जोरदार तालियां अपने लिए बजाइए
हाय सो आज हम यूथ ब्रेकआउट सेशंस कर रहे हैं ठीक है ये क्वेश्चंस आपके सामने प्रिंटेड डिस्प्लेड है ठीक है अब इस सेशन में जितने भी लोग 30 साल के या 30 से कम उम्र वाले हैं वो सारे इस सेशन में आएंगे ठीक है तो पहला क्वेश्चन व्हाट डज कंपैशन मीन टू यू आपके अनुसार करुणा क्या है हम सबके लिए कंपैशन एक बहुत ही पर्सनल निजी चीज है ना और हम सबके लिए ये चीज रिपीट नहीं होती मेरे लिए कुछ और हो सकती है किन्सू के लिए कुछ और हो सकती है ओवेन जी के लिए कुछ और हो सकता है तो हम चाहते हैं कि आप इस चीज के बारे में सोचें जेन्युइनली अच्छे से दिमाग लगा के सोचें शांति से सोचें ठीक है एट व्हाट एज डू यू थिंक यू वर मोस्ट कंपैशनेट आप कौन सी उम्र में सबसे ज्यादा करुणाशील थे हम सबका एक एक फेज आता है जिंदगी में जब हम सबसे ज्यादा करुणाशील होते हैं we're the most compassionate at a particular age and we remember things from them हमें उस एज से सारी चीजें याद आती है अच्छा मैंने कितना अच्छा काम किया था मुझे कितना अच्छा फील हुआ दूसरों को कितना अच्छा फील हुआ तो ये कौन सी उम्र थी आपकी to put compassion into action what do we need decision makers to do हमारे पास वोट मांगने बहुत लोग आते हैं बहुत सारे प्रोमिसेस देके जाते हैं बहुत सारी चीजें बोलते हैं कि हम आपका ये सॉल्व कर देंगे, वो सॉल्व कर देंगे, बट उनको पता ही नहीं होता वो क्या करे, है ना। तो हम ये चाहते हैं कि करुणामय समाज बनाने के लिए निर्णायकों को क्या करने की आवश्यकता है। हमें ये बता रहा है कि आप हमसे वोट लेने आ रहे हैं, पर हम ये चाहते हैं कि आप हमारे लिए ये चीजें करें, ठीक है। और ये चीजें सिर्फ युवाएं बना सकते हैं, ओनली द यूथ लीडिंग द वर्ल्ड। ऑलरेडी आप सब लोग इस दुनिया को लीड कर रहे हैं, अपने अपने समाज में बहुत आगे आगे बढ़ गए हैं, तो आप लोगों से बेटर कोई नहीं है। To put compassion into action, what will you do? क्रियात्मक करुणा को आगे ले जाने के लिए आप क्या करेंगे? आप सब लोग बहुत कुछ बहुत सालों से करते आ रहे हैं, पर ये पूरा युवाओं के लिए समिट था। This summit was only for youth. हमने बहुत कुछ सुना इतने सारे दिनों में। हम लोग बहुत दिनों से करुणा पे काम कर रहे हैं, तो ऐसा क्या आप अपने साथ लेके जा रहे हैं यहाँ से जो आप क्रियात्मक करेंगे आगे, यानी कि आप करुणा के लिए क्या करेंगे आगे? हम लोग 12 ग्रुपों में डिवाइड हुए हैं और ये डिवीजन बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है। दिस डिवीजन इज बेस्ड ऑन द मंथ्स ऑफ योर बर्थ। आपके जन्मदिन के महीनों के निर्धारित आपका डिवीजन हुआ है, ठीक है। तो हमारे पास 12 महीने हैं, 12 लोग हैं, 12 फैसिलिटेटर्स हैं, जिनको मैं अभी स्टेज पे बुलाऊंगी।
तो हर किसी को अपना जन्मदिन का महीना तो याद है, हाँ या ना? तो हम आपके जन्मदिन जैसा इन्होंने बताया, जिस महीने में आपका जन्मदिन है, आपका उस महीने का एक टीम लीडर है जो एक एक करके स्टेज पे आएंगे और आपको उस टीम लीडर के साथ अपने जन्मदिन के महीने में जाना है।
जनवरी अनुष्का,
अनुष्का जनवरी के लिए है। जनवरी महीने वाले खड़े हो जाएं। जनवरी महीने के जन्मदिन जिनके हैं वो सभी लोग खड़े हो जाएं, जल्दी से। हमारे पास बहुत कम समय है, हम थोड़ा सा समय से पीछे चल रहे हैं, तो मैं चाहूंगा थोड़ी सी जल्दीबाजी दिखाएं इसे, तो हम जल्दी से कर सके। जनवरी महीने वाले सब खड़े होकर इस एग्जिट पे आ जाएं। इस एग्जिट पर जनवरी महीने वाले। उसके बाद मैं फरवरी महीने से पायल को मैं स्टेज पे बुलाऊंगा। फरवरी महीने वाले इस चीज का ध्यान रखें कि 30 वर्ष के अंदर वाले ही लोग उठेंगे, जो 30 साल से ऊपर के हैं वो अपनी जगह पे बैठे रहे। जल्दी जल्दी करें थोड़ा सा। और उसके बाद हम आते हैं मार्च में वीरेंद्र के साथ आ जाए। वीरेंद्र जी स्टेज पर आए। मार्च महीने के जन्मदिन वाले सभी लोग खड़े हो जाएं। अंडर 30 एज ग्रुप के लोग सभी, all the people under the age of 30 whose birth month is March, come stand up.
जिनका मार्च में जन्मदिन है, यार तुम छुपा रहे हो क्या अपना बर्थडे? इतनी फुर्ती से आना चाहिए आप लोगों को।
अप्रैल के लिए सुरजीत
जल्दी आइए
प्लीज, हमारे पास टाइम बहुत कम है। आप सभी से मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि जल्दी जल्दी उठ के आए। आई थिंक आप लोग लेते जाएं अपने अपने महीनों को, वरना यहाँ पे बहुत भीड़ लग जाएगी। वहीं से
अच्छा,
इसके बाद अप्रैल
इनको पे निकाल देते हैं, है ना?
जिन महीनों के हो गए आप लोग लेके जाइए अपने ग्रुप, आप लोग अपने ग्रुप को लेके जाइए। उसके बाद मई से अमरलाल मई ग्रुप को लीड कर रहे हैं। अमरलाल स्टेज पर आए। मई महीने वाले जितने लोग हैं वो अमरलाल को जानते हैं, अमरलाल के साथ जाइए। अमरलाल अपने ग्रुप को लेके जाइए।
अनुष्का।
के बाद जून महीने के फैसिलिटेटर है टीम ग्रुप लीडर ललिता।
अच्छा एक सेकंड टिंशु। जनवरी, फरवरी, मार्च, अप्रैल, मई, आप इनके साथ जो है जहां सुबह हवन हुआ था, ठीक है, वहां पे
ललिता के साथ जून महीने वाले ललिता अपने ग्रुप को अपने सामने खड़ा
आप वहां पे जाएंगे जहाँ
सामने, ठीक है। जून वाले ललिता के साथ है और मई वाले अमरलाल के साथ है। मई मंथ, आगे बढ़ूंगा मैं जुलाई, अब बाकी को भेजते जाइए।
फरवरी पायल आप निकलिए। मार्च इनके साथ, मार्च इधर। अप्रैल सुरजीत, अप्रैल मई अमर
लेके जा,
किधर से जाना है? अमर मान जगह पे जा। जून तुम लोग दोस्ती में तो नहीं आए ना कि सब जून करके?
जुलाई के लिए तारा,
जून तुम यहाँ पे, ये जो यहाँ पे
जुलाई महीने के लिए तारा बंजारा हमारी हीरो जुलाई महीने को लीड कर रही है। चलिए जिन लोगों का महीने का होगा चलते जाए।
जुलाई तारा है,
तारा लेके जाए। उसके बाद अगस्त महीने को काजल लीड कर रही है, काजल झारखंड से। अगस्त महीने को
अगस्त के महीने का, अगस्त में किस का बर्थडे है? भाग के आइए, देखते कौन भाग के आता है, जल्दी भाग के आइए। वेरी गुड। अगस्त में किस का जन्मदिन है?
इसके बाद सितंबर,
अगस्त
सितंबर मेरा ग्रुप है, सितंबर वाले मेरे ग्रुप के साथ इस तरफ आ जाए।
अगस्त यहाँ पे काजल, यहाँ पे
सितंबर मेरा ग्रुप है किंसु कुमार का, वो लोग इधर आ जाए इस तरफ। सहाना जी जहाँ खड़ा कर रही है। सितंबर महीना,
सितंबर के लिए लोग यहीं पे आएंगे स्टेज के पास।
अक्टूबर के लिए अजय प्रकाश आएंगे स्टेज पे। अक्टूबर के लिए
अजय प्रकाश,
अक्टूबर वाले इसे अजय प्रकाश के साथ अक्टूबर वाले
ध्यान से देखिए इस शक्ल को, यही है अक्टूबर। ये आप पीछे जाइए पीछे, वहाँ जाइए।
उसके बाद नवंबर में आदित्य है, आदित्य
आ जाओ।
अक्टूबर महीना अजय प्रकाश के साथ चले जाए। आदित्य नवंबर महीना,
अक्टूबर पीछे चले जाइए। अजय प्रकाश के साथ अजय प्रकाश पीछे जा रहे हैं।
नवंबर आदित्य हमारे बीच है नवंबर महीने के लिए।
नवंबर आदित्य यहाँ पे है।
दिसंबर के लिए नीरज मुर्मू झारखंड से।
नवंबर आदित्य,
अगस्त महीना काजल के साथ। सितंबर महीने वाले मेरे साथ यहाँ पे आ जाए। उसके बाद दिसंबर नीरज मुर्मू।
नीरज
अपने बर्थ मंथ के साथ चीटिंग मत करिएगा, सब लोग अपने अपने बर्थ मंथ में ही जाइएगा। दिसंबर
ये ले जा रहे हैं, इनके पीछे चलिए।
दिसंबर नीरज के साथ चले जाइए।
नीरज के साथ जल्दी। दिसंबर के सारे नीरज के साथ। नीरज जाइए आप बाहर टेंट के अंदर।
दिसंबर नीरज के साथ टेंट के अंदर ही बैठना एक जगह पे। नीरज को अपने दिसंबर महीना टेंट में ही एक जगह बैठेंगे।
यहाँ पे गोविंद जी है, गोविंद जी। अच्छा गोविंद सर 30, जिनकी 30 से ज्यादा उम्र है वो हमारे गोविंद भैया के साथ जो है वो वहाँ पे चले जाए।
गोविंद जी खड़े हैं वहाँ पे 30 साल से ऊपर वालों के साथ।
गोविंद जी के साथ चले जाए।
नवंबर आदित्य के साथ।
नवंबर हाथ उठाए। नवंबर कहाँ पे है? नवंबर
बोला।
अच्छा एक और बार, सितंबर किधर है? हाथ उठाए। सितंबर। अक्टूबर किधर है? हाथ उठाए। अक्टूबर किधर है? अक्टूबर नीचे बैठना है। अक्टूबर किधर है? अक्टूबर के सारे लोग हाथ उठाए, सभी लोग जो अक्टूबर के हैं अजय प्रकाश के साथ। नवंबर किसका है? नवंबर
और कोई ऐसा तो नहीं रहेगा जिसको ग्रुप नहीं मिला हो। अंदर 30 वाले सभी लोग अपने ग्रुप में जा चुके हैं।
अच्छा सभी बच्चे ये जो बैठे हुए हैं, नितिन दांगी कौन
आप लोग थोड़े गोला बना के जहाँ भी बैठेंगे आपको डिस्कशन करने में आसानी होगी।
और हमारी जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन की टीम है, प्लीज इंश्योर करें कि आप जो है हर जगह घूमते रहें और एक बार देख लें कि सब अपने अपने टीम्स में बैठे हैं।
Peter, we have divided all the youth in different groups as per their months. So, what's the month of your birth? October.
अक्टूबर का है अजय प्रकाश।
October Ajay Prakash. Ajay Prakash, that group Peter is yours. Esther, what is the month of your birth? December. December कहाँ पर है? That group December is there, Esther.
Yes, December is
Peter
there.
over there. और कोई रह गया? Anybody else who left? Under 13.
अच्छा, अब मैं आप सबको एक बार बता देती हूँ कि आपके पास 5 क्वेश्चन है। आपके सारे फैसिलिटेटर्स को पता है, जो आपके ग्रुप लीडर्स हैं, कि आपको करना क्या है, तो वो समझा देंगे। अगर कुछ भी और जानकारी की जरूरत है तो आप हमसे या फिर हमारी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन की टीम और फैसिलिटेटर्स हैं।
तो सबसे पहले आप लोग अब इन सवालों को एक बार पढ़ लीजिए और इनके बारे में सोचना शुरू कर दीजिए। उसके बाद हम इसके बारे में लिखेंगे। मैं ये अपने ग्रुप को बता रहा हूँ जो यहीं पे बैठा है, बाकी टीम लीडर अपना ग्रुप को देख सकते हैं। सो हम लोग इन महीनों को देखने, इन सारे सवालों को पढ़ लीजिए आप लोग और अपने दिमाग के घोड़े दौड़ाइए, याद करिए, सोचिए कि वो कौन सी चीज है जो इनके जवाब होंगे और फिर हम उनको राइट इट डाउन करेंगे। ठीक है, सबका इंडिविजुअल, सबके व्यक्तिगत जवाब होंगे। कोई जवाब हम ऐसा सामूहिक नहीं देने वाले। हम सारी चीजें जो ग्रुप में है उसके अनुसार आपके इंडिविजुअल जो आपके अपने विचार होंगे हम उनको लिखेंगे। तो सब लोग आप इन सवालों को सोचिए और उनके जवाब अपने मन में सोचिए। उसके बाद हम इनको राइट इट डाउन करना शुरू करेंगे। सभी ग्रुप को मैं बता दूं हमारे पास कम समय है क्योंकि हम टाइम से पीछे चल रहे हैं थोड़ा सा, और इसके बाद लंच होगा तो जल्दी से हम लोग फिर करना शुरू कर देंगे इसको। ओके।
मुझे
हेडसेट ट्रांसलेशन वाला कोई वॉलंटियर यहाँ पे हो, आप आ जाइए, जल्दी से आ जाइए।
राइट बोर्ड पे तो निकालो हमारे वहाँ से पकड़ूंगे हम खड़े थे अमन को बोल चलाए को देख फोन में लग रहा अभी ये कलर अमन को बोल चलाए को ऐसा लिखिएगा कि पढ़ा जा सके साफ बस पढ़ के पता चल सके कि आपने क्या लिखा आप सवाल मत कीजिए आंसर नंबर 1 करके जैसे हम एग्जाम में लिखते हैं वैसे ही लिखेंगे तो एक मिनट हो अमन अमन दया पक्के जाए इंग्लिश में काइंडनेस आंसर आपके ऊपर एक शब्द हो क्यों आपके ऊपर है मैं ये कतई नहीं कह रहा कि आपको एक शब्द में देना है या हो सकता है आपके लिए एक पेज क्वेश्चन लगा था जिसको एक्स्ट्रा चाहिए वो भी ले सकता है तो कंपैशन क्या है वो आपके हिसाब से